Hey folks, welcome to another edition of the Patreon Q&A here on The Golden Bolt. If you're not familiar, the name probably says everything it needs to say, but for as little as $1 a month, you can back the Patreon, and you get access to a Q&A thread every month where I'll answer all of your questions as best I can and share my opinions on generally whatever you'd like, within reason. Don't make it weird. And as well as that, if you join the Patreon, you get access to the Discord server. If you pledge at $1 a month or more, you get ad-free access to videos. If you pledge at $5 or more at the Silverbolt tier, you get videos early. And if you pledge at $15 a month, you get your name physically read in the credits, as well as merch discounts and a bunch of other stuff. If you didn't know, I do have merch and a bunch of other plugs I have to get through. But for now, I'm going to stop the plugs there. I will say before we start, this is obviously coming out in July. This is the June Q&A thread, the Qune, as I was about to call it. And I held off on posting this or recording this until a couple days into July because I wanted to confirm any changes that might go on in the next few weeks for the channel, as well as let time simmer a bit on that Wii video that did absurdly well and had the channel hit 100,000 subscribers. So for those that tune into this, obviously it goes without saying, but thank you so much. But on top of that, a lot of different dubs have just piled up in the last couple weeks, which has been really cool to see. There's the Wii video, the 100,000 subscriber mark. I hit a million views in a month. It's like 2 a.m., so forgive me if I'm stammering a little bit. But yeah, I hit my first 1 million view month, or month period, technically, because it's half June, half July. And a bunch of other cool things, but maybe most significantly, I am moving soon. I just closed on a new place. I'm very excited. It's going to have the first proper, true The Golden Bolt set and office space, which I'm really excited for because for the entirety of the channel's history, I've been recording in a room that is also my bedroom. So I've either sacrificed some level of office capabilities for the fact of having a bed, or I've sacrificed bedroom space so that I could have all of my stupid game consoles and wires everywhere. So I wanted to wait and see if that would happen, or if I was going to wait until later in the summer to host this Q&A thread, because I figured if I do it now, I can share some updates. And the updates beyond that are hopefully that it's not going to affect the channel in terms of video output. My hope is that it won't, but obviously you never really know. July is a very busy month in general for me, with the Charity Room event, Charity vs. Room 2 New Age of Zeros, coming up at the end of July. We're going to be raising money for a group known as Rise Above the Disorder, which helps people connect with local therapists and even helps provide the cost of care for those that cannot afford it. And I think it's a really cool cause. We found it earlier this year while searching for a charity, and I'm excited. If you've never seen a Charity Room event, it's a lot of fun. We have a bunch of creators from myself and a bunch of the Crub crew, as well as folks like Some Call Me Johnny, guests like Ant Dude, the entire FTCR crew, if you're familiar. It's called the Charity Room because it was originally funded the Charity Room, FTCR. So I think you'll really enjoy it if you tune in. I'll have a proper announcement video on that on the main channel, probably closer to the end of the month when it launches. But with that and moving in the middle of this month, I'm going to be pretty packed, and I have prepared for that by ensuring that I'm not going to move my recording setup at least until the end of the Charity Room event in the middle of August at the latest. Simply because, A, it'd be kind of weird to shout Joe Swanson voices at a new apartment while I'm still getting my bearings of what noise can get through and what noise is not getting through, and also because of internet things, and it would just be a pain to move my entire desk and computer and all my monitors and set up a new monitor stand and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to spend a lot of July moving things piecemeal and keeping the office set up and recording when I can, and I'm going to be relying hopefully heavily on my good friend and editor Chris Mykonos fan on the next big project for the month. But all this stuff has happened really fast, and so I kind of regret making that 100,000 subscriber I'll do the PSP Ratchet Games video announcement when I did, because I didn't expect it to happen until after I had moved, and I jinxed myself, and I'm not going to get to record any of that game's gameplay, or those games' gameplay, until probably the end of the month at the very earliest. So I feel bad about that. Sorry in advance. Okay, we're 5 minutes into this Q&A. I just kind of wanted to say some of that stuff. I'm really excited. It's cool also because the YouTube 100,000 subscriber play button will most likely ship to the new address, so my set will be done right as that's arriving, I'm going to guess. And I'll have an actual set, too. I'll have a separate room, a separate space in the room where I can record on-cam stuff, which I haven't done generally in a long time. It's just going to be, I'm really, really excited for it. And like I said, hopefully that won't affect video output too much, especially since we're riding a big momentum wave that I intend to continue if things go well. All right, Patreon time. I have a bunch of questions here. I'm going to go through them. You know how Patreon goes. You know how Q&As go. Subscribe to the Patreon if you are so willing, because I need to go buy furniture now. And so it would be very appreciated. Okay, cool. I'm going to stop shilling. Our first question is from The Dan the Man Show, another YouTube channel you should check out, who asked, with more and more AAA studios mentioning the move to digital only in the future, examples include Alan Wake 2 that he gave, and the new Like a Dragon, Gaiden, the man who erased his name, the man who stole his name, yeah, are both seemingly digital only. Alan Wake 2 is confirmed digital only. Yakuza Like a Dragon, damn it. I don't think it's confirmed yet, but probably is. Anyway, he continues, and with more and more third parties having to pick up the slack to see games get a physical release, for example, I Am 8-Bit, how do you feel about the future of physical media for games? Well, all physical media degrades inevitably. So I've kind of gotten jaded with the idea of physical collecting, not physical preservation. I am still very pro physical preservation. If you've ever seen on the Crubcast all the games behind me, obviously I am. And I prefer physical media where I can have it, because it's easier to install a disc than download a huge massive file, depending on the internet speeds that you have. Or even without it, because the solid state drives load pretty fast now. And install pretty fast as well. Where do I see the future of physical media going for games? I think it will become its own niche. I mean, we're already at the point where even if you exclude, mobile games and in-app purchases, I believe, the digital sales, I cannot speak today, the digital sales of video games in the console space, I believe as of 2020, are now majority digital. That's just going to be how it is. There's rumors of a new PS5 model that's going to be digital only, but have an attachment for a disc drive, so it'll be a cheaper model than the PS4 all-digital edition, but it'll have an optional disc drive attachment, which would be interesting. I think that's a cool way that it could go in the future, but I think it depends on how much demand continues, because over time, I think we'll return to physical media for sure. I don't think Nintendo's going to drop physical media anytime soon, because they have not too much incentive to yet, because they own their entire proprietary cartridge system, and I believe they get to charge third parties appropriately for those cartridges, even though they have to then also spend for their own cartridges. So that's kind of interesting as an angle to look at it from. I guess I don't really know. It's hard to say, but it's kind of been a long time coming. And in the vein of looking towards the future, I have a couple other questions here. One from Chris Mykonos fan, friend of the channel. You should check out his channel as well. Or the channel that he's also plugging in this post, our podcast Crub. Where do you see the Golden Bolt plus Crub for easy plug in 5 years? Well, I was... Since I just crossed the 100,000 mark, I've been thinking about that and trying to figure out my projections, because usually I've been pretty good about projecting, future growth and then hitting those numbers or exceeding them. And I've been fortunate that generally every year, with the exception of 2019, the channel has at least doubled, give or take. Like, it might be like 49%. Sometimes it's 100%. I'm sorry, not 49%. Let's say I had 40,000 subscribers at the start of 2022. At the end, I had, I had 42,000 subscribers at the start of 2022. At the end, I had like 81. So I didn't quite double, but I'm gonna consider it doubling. So usually what I do is I make a low, medium, and high goal. That way, either way, I'm gonna hit my low goal no matter what for each and every year. My high goal for this year was 150. I don't think it's going to happen unless another video like that Wii one pops off, in which case, who's to say. But I just wanted to continue that doubling and have that just will continue occurring. So technically, if the doubling continued, I'd be at 160 at the end of this year. And I don't anticipate that happening, but I would very much like to, numbers-wise, say that in 5 years the channel is like, I don't know, 500,000 subscribers. It's hard to say, because the future of YouTube is always a little bit in flux. I think that YouTube creators as individuals aren't going anywhere, obviously, but long-form content is going to continue running up against challenges like the short format that a lot of the younger viewers obviously enjoy. You know, the shorts, the TikToks, Instagram Reels, Stories. Which ones were I don't know. One of those is dead, I think. Anyway, content-wise in 5 years, it's really hard to say, because hopefully I won't have run out of things that I want to talk about, given that all of the videos that I intended to make in 2023 haven't happened, more or less. I'm going to say I have a pretty good chance of that not being the case, but who knows, you know, especially with a new outlook on work and workplace, I guess. You know, I feel that I'm going to be a lot more productive having a separate room where I can't just turn around and say, hey, my bed's right there, maybe I'll lay down for a bit. And, you know, just having that separation where I can clock into work by leaving and entering a separate room, I'm hoping that'll make me much more productive, because that's been a big struggle the last couple of years. But as far as things go in 5 years, I think it'll go well, you know, unless an asteroid hits us all and we all die. That'd be pretty cool too, I guess. As far as Crub goes, I very much anticipate that unless anything goes tragically wrong, we will continue on the path that Crub is taking. You know, we've all put a lot of thought and effort into making that podcast something special, even if it is just a podcast, by making it a conduit for all of us at the Crubcast crew to pursue tertiary hobbies in content form, to hang out more and make that content, because one of the things that Chris and I realized during some of those charity room events was that the event would end and there'd be a lot of in-jokes that would come from he and I just shooting the shit like we normally do, and that every time that we would do a stream together on my channel, on his channel, wherever we would do it, the jokes would carry and people would latch onto them and people had a genuinely good time, which is true for a lot of channels and brands I know. But I've always genuinely felt that the rapport that the Crub crew has is not unique, but special, because it finds a way to include people and get them involved in the jokes, in the banter, and lead to a better time as a result. So I have lofty goals for Crub, because I think it's really cool to have this third brand, you know, behind the Golden Bolt and Golden Bolt 2, where I can use the platform that I have built to help raise the platforms and be the tide that is raising the ships of other friends in the Crub crew to help them fulfill their content dreams. Because without those people, I'm not where I am right now. And if I can pay that forward in any way, I'm going to. And I think that something like Crub is a really fun way to do that. Moving along, we have another question about upcoming things from Nathaniel Foga. He has two questions, but the first one is, with the upcoming release of Rift Apart on PC, what other game in the series do you think warrants a PC release? None. I'm glad it's Rift Apart that's getting ported, because there was a leak a long time ago that 2016 was rumored to be getting ported. I think it was an NVIDIA leak. And I did not like that idea whatsoever, because, you know, not the best showcase for people that maybe haven't played a single Ratchet & Clank game. I think Rift Apart is a perfect entry point. Not necessarily the perfect entry point, not the best one, but it is a perfect entry point into the franchise. And I think that'll do it a lot of good to be on PC. I don't think many other games would really work in the series, because one would need to be remade again, I feel. The HD collection would need to be redone anyway. The PS3 saga doesn't quite make sense to include yet, unless they do a remaster of it. I don't think any pre-PS5 games quite make sense to put on PC in their current state. And then he also asks, what is the rarest thing that you've gotten from a convention? It'd probably be not a Brave Fencer Musashi necessarily, not necessarily Disruptor. I actually saw Disruptor for pretty cheap at this year's Too Many Games. Maybe the Pokemon XD GameCube, maybe. I don't know how super rare that is, but I think it is on the rarer side. It probably sold better than Brave Fencer Musashi, though. I'm not really sure. I would say the rarest thing that I've gotten is the experience of it all, which is a really dumb thing to say, and it's kind of sappy, but I get to see a lot of really cool people and make a lot of really cool new friends and catch up with a lot of really cool friends that I've made over the years. And that's something that, everyone has the shared experience of going to a convention, hopefully with friends to make it a better experience as well. But I'm very fortunate by way of this job that I get to really mingle and network. And that's why I don't tend to go to my friends' panels. Like I stopped into Some Call Me Johnny, his panel, because there was a lot of space in the back that you could, there was standing room, which is really cool this year at Too Many Games. That's the first time I've really seen that. Because I remember going to his first panel, and it was so hard to hear, and they had to move panel rooms because they underestimated how many people would go to see the heart and soul of that convention at a panel. And since I've become friends with the guy, I've gone to the panels less because there's limited space, as much as I would like to, go there to support him. I mean, he went to one of the panels that Trav and Nico and I did, and Trav, Nico, myself, and Sean did, in 2021. He went there and he sat in the back. He kind of snuck in so that no one would, bother him. And he did that to support us, and that was really cool, and I value that, and I'm thankful for that. But in the same breath, there are a ton of people that don't get the chance to just message him on Discord and send him memes. And so I try not to take that away from anybody else by taking a spot. And that's one of the bittersweet parts of it. But in the same breath, we all know that we're supporting each other in our own way. It's just hard to do it in the same way anymore. And so that's the rarest thing I think I've gotten from a convention is that experience. The theme seems to be for today's episode, the future, which is fitting because I spent the first 5 minutes of the episode talking about the future and things that are changing, and that's, didn't plan for that, but hey. Tabriz asks, any plans to review the Uncharted series in the future? Technically, I did do a few of them. I did do the 2 PS Vita games. Yes, there are 2. Watch my video on it. As far as the rest of the games go, I would need something interesting to say about them. I don't think just an Uncharted series retrospective game by game, or even the whole series as one video, is quite the thing that I currently want to make, because I don't think there's enough current nostalgia for them. I love those games. They're really good games, except for 3. And I would love to talk about that and hopefully find a way to enjoy 3 more, ideally. But I don't know. I think that there's a stink on a lot of Naughty Dog products. Sadly, I think that people getting upset about The Last of Us 2 leaks really did a lot of damage to things like Uncharted, because retroactively we started complaining about them. And ironically, that enhanced something like a Jak, because people want to go back to what they liked when they were kids. And so Jak got a bit of a boost from that, even though Jak's kind of mid. Anyway, Crazy Even asks, says, I was watching the Hitman 3 roguelike fun times. There was a stream I did where I played the Hitman 3 roguelike mode. For those that don't know, it's here on the second channel. And I realized the modern entries in this series seem to have eclipsed most of the previous entries to the point that they're not talked about nearly as much, except for Blood Money. Generally, that's the exact opposite of the older entries in a game series, which are generally seen as superior. What other series do you believe had its newer entries eclipse its past games in your eyes? I don't know that Yakuza is a fair answer, because Yakuza did it by way of a game like Kiwami 2, and obviously before that 0, where those entries did eclipse past games. And then again, games like Judgment have just wildly passed for me a lot of the Yakuza games that I've played. And I say that as someone who I said on air recently that I think Yakuza might be my favorite series currently. You know, I still have a lot of nostalgic love for Ratchet and Clank, but Yakuza does the same things that Ratchet did to me as a kid. That same addictive, I cannot put this down style of game. But those games are longer and they have a more investing story, for lack of a better phrase. And I don't know, I can never get enough of those and the heart that those games have. So for me to say that the newer entries in those games have eclipsed the past ones, I mean, part of it's just because they're better games, you know, in terms of loading screens and combat and optimization. But that's one for sure. If I... Now I gotta look back behind me. Hold on. You could debate Zelda. I don't think I would make that argument, but, well, I mean, I would, but it'd get me shot. You know, Zelda has such a prestige to it, but there's something to be said about the fact that a game like Breath of the Wild was immediately considered maybe the best game of all time, and then, you know, Tears of the Kingdom comes out, a direct sequel to it, and they do it again. You know, it's hard. I'd be hard pressed to say that Tears of the Kingdom isn't the best game that I've played. I don't want to say ever, because I'm going to hedge on that, but in terms of pure experience and quality, I mean, I'll still always love Majora's Mask forever. I have a soft spot for so many of the early Zelda games, but, you know, it's Zelda, you could say. You could argue Zelda. I don't think I would make that argument because I'd go back and forth on it too much, but it's there. Okay, I'm going to call it here. I have the second part of this recorded. I just finished it up, but it went to about 42 minutes, 43 minutes, so I decided that I'm going to split this one into two solely so that I give you guys more content over a wider range of time, because I know that a 40-minute Q&A video maybe isn't the most enthralling thing. So I'm going to split it up. I'm going to test that out for this longer one and see if in the future we like that for longer ones, but it'll probably just be a one-off, solely because there's going to be a little bit less of me this month because I'm going to be so packed with things until, you know, the Charity Room event where there's going to be a lot more of me suddenly. So I figure give it a little sprinkle here, give you another sprinkle in like a week or two. Maybe it'll do some good, I don't know. If you hate the idea, let me know. If you love the idea, let me know. Support the channel on Patreon at patreon.com/thegoldenbolt to get your own questions answered in this. If you donate at $5, you get early access to videos. If you donate at $1, you get ad-free videos. And all that fun stuff, it all stacks. There's merch, there's discounts, there's all these things that I now have to shill because I have to pay the bills more now. So expect more of that, and thank you for your patience on that. Cool. All right, I'll see you for the second part of this Q&A relatively soon. As always, until then, much love, folks. Stay golden.